Hello, I'm Thomas Hare, the Chief Content Officer of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute. Welcome to the latest episode of Take 20, created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. These 20-minute live conversations featuring leaders in the performance marketing world speaking about the hottest topics in the industry are scheduled twice a month. Before we get to today's conversation, a housekeeping note. We'll be addressing any questions from the audience at the end of today's session, but you don't have to wait to ask them. Utilize the questions tab on your control panel to type and send your question in. We'll be collecting them and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the episode. Today, performance marketers, agencies, and media outlets are prepping to head into the teeth of upfront season. Where does the media marketplace stand? With the array of options for advertisers continually growing, OTT, CTV, online video, and of course, linear TV, what do you need to know about how this latest upfront will affect your media plans for the rest of 2023? Agency leader and PDMI U.S. Hispanic Council Chair, Marcelino Miyares of DDH Partners, and media analytics expert Cody Tunney are here today, along with Take 20 host and Brand Response Council Chair, Chris Foster of Modern Postcard, to dish on what you can expect. Welcome, team. Take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Thomas, and welcome, Marcelino and Cody. So glad to have you folks here. Really excited about this, learning about the upfronts this year. It's a new environment. There's a whole host of different forces at play that are external to the industry. These are going to be consumer patterns, trends, maybe a little bit of inflation. And what's interesting is how the industry responds to things that they can't control, but also how they invest in the things that they can control. And so what I'd like to maybe start off with, Cody, for you, is to talk us a little bit about the analytics and some of the trends that you're seeing heading into this upfront, which might be different, similar, or in parallel path to previous upfronts.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll start out and give an overview of the 23-24 upfronts. What I think is going to be, or are going to be hot topics, pricing and media. So the network upfront presentation week is May 15th through the 17th in New York City. There will be the usual players there: NBC, Fox, Disney, Warner Brothers. We got Telemundo and Univision, but also this year Netflix and YouTube. The hot topics that are going to come up, obviously sports. Sports viewership is shifting from one platform or network to another, but I think that we'll all see that sports is an American staple. Americans love sports and they will follow their teams wherever the game is playing. In 23 and 24, mostly 24, we're going to have the presidential election. So that will affect media pricing in 1Q, as well as a lot in 3Q. So 1Q is leading up to the Super Tuesday, which are, the state primaries, and then the conventions during the summertime in 3Q, and then the election will be November 5th in 2024. I think that this should bring viewership back to linear TV as consumers look for commentary and opinion, and maybe even just keep their TV on linear, and maybe not shift over to some of the digital or CTV networks. Next thing, content. Content is king. Viewers will find content that they want, and I think as a consumer, we will see who is pulling back investment in content and who's investing in it. Currencies is the next one. Networks are going to be a bit more fluid on who they're guaranteeing against, what kind of measurement. Will it be Nielsen, ComScore, Video Amp? It doesn't matter. They're going to be flexible. And then I also think that we'll see some fluidity for the network. So it's going to be kind of like a portfolio guarantees more than just linear TV guarantees. We might see things that creep in, like CTV included, digital video, gaming, podcasts coming in. So all of this, plus the economic factors of, pretty much a flat everything, flat employment, or flat unemployment increases, GDP being sort of flat, consumer price index going up. I think we'll see that media pricing comes in for the upfront somewhere around +3 to +5. It might be fair that the networks ask for maybe a +7 in CPM pricing. However, I would predict it to come in sort of in that low single digits range.
Excellent. That's a fantastic high-level view, and you touched on a lot of issues. And I think when you mentioned Netflix, YouTube, Disney's are going to be there, plus Fox, NBC, CBS, it's like the streaming world and then the linear world. But these two spheres of a Venn diagram, they do overlap because NBC's got the, with Peacock and with Paramount Plus, they have this toe into the streaming side as well, and it does overlap in those spaces. So the idea of an all-inclusive commitment is really interesting. And I guess what I'd like to ask you, Marcelino, is given some of those trends, especially with sports, especially with elections, you mentioned that the Hispanic market in particular sometime aligns, sometime runs in parallel, sometimes goes contra to some of these larger trends. What are you seeing in that specific market?
Kind of all of the above. Sports is, it's an equally targeted programming category for the Latino market. Obviously, the sports are different. It's more soccer oriented, and in terms of the Spanish networks, that's what they carry. Telemundo does have some SAP with NFL. And in some local markets with baseball, but really when we talk sports in the Hispanic market, we're talking essentially soccer. And it's a very busy, and it's not only Latin American teams, it's the Premier League, the Championship League, it's the various regional tournaments. Our biggest preemption challenge always is soccer programming. So that's not going to change. Political next year is probably the opposite. Political and Hispanic is usually much more exaggerated in expectation than the reality. For whatever reason, and we hope as Hispanic in the Hispanic community, we hope that political campaigns focus more and more on our market and our community, but never really comes to fruition. The 2022 midterms and the 2020 elections were, severely underspent in the Hispanic market, both at a network level and at a local spot level. So I don't expect that that's going to put too much pressure on the market going into 2024. We're seeing CPMs that are in the direct response space. We're getting CPMs that are in the single digits, but in general, in the D2C and the brand world, they tend to be in the low teens. We have only 3 real networks, Univision, Telemundo, and Estrella. And we used to have 4, Azteca, but they're now defunct. So we have more players coming into the market. We have the same 3 networks, a lot of pressure on a lot of demand on limited supply. And then you add to that a huge influx of pharma, which take up the 90-second to 3-minute units. And the D2C space, the RTV space is getting crushed, right? In the short form world, because they buy so much inventory, they pick up full breaks, and it creates problems. So the networks know this. They're seeing slowing audiences, but their rates keep going up. It doesn't make sense, but anybody who wants to market needs to dive in. And so they're pushing hard in their digital platforms. And I won't name names, but at least one of them is already selling 50% of their revenues coming from digital at $20+ CPM. So double what they're doing in linear, and they're generating the revenue. And that's at least one, and it could be all 3. But digital, their digital portfolios are becoming a huge factor. They don't, at least in our space, they don't do portfolio guarantees. We're pushing for it because the digital game is a much different buying approach. It used to be that shotgun meant buy a grid and then optimize where the ROI is. Now shotgun literally means pellets targeting individual IP addresses, and unless you have really amazing analytics to be able to really to profile, and that depends on your buying platform, that's a challenge. So at least for Hispanic, buying digital for DR, still challenging. I can talk another 2 minutes about that if we get to it. But that's sort of the parallel with the general market.
The parallels and the contras. No, I love it. And to your as an example, I remember during the World Cup, I don't have linear TV. Can I? Okay, I'm still on the broadcast. Okay, very good. So I was watching Peacock, and Peacock had the World Cup games live, but through Telemundo, right? And which is interesting. And you also mentioned, I have to do a shout out. You mentioned Premier League. My beloved Brentford Bees doing really well this season. I love watching them on Peacock. But that's one of those examples where the advertising through the sports is something that you always will gravitate to. And it gets back to the very first thing that we talked about, the things that networks can or can't control. They can't necessarily control the whims and the fates of the sports teams and or the election cycles. So they have to figure out how to play within that. I guess, Cody, maybe I will ask you, if someone gave you the hat and you said, okay, we're going to either have an aggressive posture or a more cautious approach, what do you choose?
In terms of spending?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on what the marketing objective is, as always, right? So if the objective is mass reach, you gotta advertise where the people are. And that would include some sort of mix of linear TV and CTV, and spending would follow that. If it's a targeted marketing approach, then maybe skew towards a CTV or digital play.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting about that is you're saying that there's different spend parameters or decision making that go into it. Where with the targeting for those digital plays, one of the ideas is learning as you go, right? Testing as you go. It's a little bit easier to make those adjustments and refinements. Marcelino, I guess I would ask, you have they who will not be named doing 50% of their budget on digital. Are they testing and learning and doing some of those A/B split tests to understand better?
Well, it's mostly programmatic at this point.
Okay.
From a Hispanic perspective. I did learn something at the show, though, that I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking about it or not, but we had a really good meeting with Samsung. In the Hispanic space, we're really trying to find ways to make CTV work, and we haven't. Neither I nor any of our competitors have really found a way to make it work. Primarily because of the rate structures, but also because of the varying networks that participate in anybody's given platform, right? And it's rare to have Telemundo and Univision in the same platform, so you have to make choices.
Okay.
But Samsung is I don't know if they're launching or they're perfecting the pitch or whatever. I'll probably get a couple emails after this call, but they have a DSP that basically allows you now to develop lookalikes from the linear buy, right? So Samsung is a smart TV set. So people who are watching Samsung TVs and they haven't cut the cord yet, there's a very clear profile of what they're watching, right? And what commercials they're seeing. So now it looks like, and we're just starting to talk about this, so if I'm naively explaining this, but it looks like through their DSP, you're able to aggregate interests just like you would on social media, develop personas just like you would on social media, based on the buys that you're already making that work, right? Which is what's interesting to me. We still have the price issue that we have to deal with. These guys need to come, all of them, and I think there is a trend towards this based on meetings that we just had at the PDMI show. We need to be in the in the bottom of the double digits at 10 or below, right? And they're more, they're trying to find, they're all developing performance teams to develop tiers that will allow for that. Not all, but
Sure.
At least 3 of the majors. I won't name names. I don't want to put people in a tough spot, but at least 3 of the majors in the CTV space are already moving in that direction for Hispanic. And so between the ability to take that pellet shotgun and turn it back into a sort of a mass buy because you're buying interests and the pricing, it's starting to look better for retesting. We haven't tested in a while. Everything we did before was a total flop, but I think we're in a space where we can start trying to get closer.
That's wonderful. And what I really like that you touched on some topics that we covered in the Take 20 earlier about devices and about smart devices, and it makes sense that the smart TVs would be able to capture the data of those viewers. As a note also, we are having a Take 20 in May the 4th, I believe, talking about the state of sports marketing. As you were talking about sports and election being a big part of those viewers, tune in for that state of sports marketing as we have some folks from that industry. I guess, Cody, we've got just one more question to kind of wrap up. As you see this balance of OTT, CTV, linear, and the broadcast going big, the targeting going small, do you see the balance of spend changing? Do you see it kind of being equitable between those 2 platforms? Or do you see the trend leaning more towards testing an aggressive spend on digital to see how that works?
Good question. Okay, so linear consumption and CTV or connected TV consumption is at about 50-50 right now.
Okay.
So I think always advertisers will follow the eyeballs, right? Wherever people are is where and apologies if it's going in and out. If my audio is going in and out, my internet seems to be a bit sketchy right now. I keep getting alerts, but yeah, I think it's certainly going. It's certainly changing. Viewership is changing, and spend has to change too.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Marcelino, any last thoughts? We are at 20+ minutes, and we want to have time for questions from the audience.
Just to follow up on Cody, we're nowhere near 50-50 in Spanish. No one really knows what that percentage is, but
what are you?
It's probably at best 35-65 at best.
Interesting.
And something to keep diving into, but Hispanic still has a way to go.
Sure, I understand. All right, Thomas, do we have any questions from the audience?
Oh, yes, actually, we have a couple of good ones. I'm gonna pick and choose here. This is a good overall. With the expansion of performance metrics across all TV video advertising, do you think the upfronts are becoming more or less important as a tone setter for the rest of the buying year?
Interesting. I love the upfront, right? I think it always is a tone setter for networks and whatever we want to call a network, be it a streamer, a network, a new front, an upfront. I think it's always a great moment to see what's out there and what consumers are gravitating to, what kind of content is trending, be it comedies, reality TV, scripted, whatnot. So is it more or less important? I don't know. I mean, I think it's always a great moment in the TV marketplace to sit down and celebrate the creativity and celebrate whatever content is trending and place bets behind what you think is going to be successful.
I love it.
Great. This one kind of falls in as well, and love to get both of your thoughts on this if you can. How important do you think this first upfront opportunity is for Netflix given their leadership role in streaming viewership, but their late entry into the ad marketplace?
Well, Cody thinks, unless she's frozen. From a Hispanic perspective, Netflix is one of the top destinations for Hispanic subscription, and they are also one of the largest Spanish language libraries of original content in the world, in the Latin American world, and henceforth in the U.S. So we're particularly curious as to how they're going, if they're going to mention, and then how they will describe their Latin American and U.S. Hispanic viewing audiences and what they're doing for them. Because the programming on the content side, the push has been there forever, and in fact, there are 2 or 3 series that are among the most viewed ever across all of Netflix. So I think they recognize the programming content value. Question now is, are they going to recognize the actual viewer and audience value? So that's what we're looking for, and we're glad to see them in there.
Cody, any feedback?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I am super excited to see what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and yeah, I don't know. I have no predictions, but I'm excited to see it, and I'll be there with popcorn watching, just along with the rest of the market.
Yeah, as more of an outsider, the way I look at it is they necessarily, the analogy might be poor, but go with me on it. They weren't invited to the dinner. They invited themselves to the dinner, and they showed up, and everyone's like, we know about you. You've never been invited, but here you are. I guess you have to have a seat at the table. And so what I love about this moment is that every industry is in flux right now, which is as it should be. It's always been in flux. It's just now I think it's more highlighted and it happens more quickly. But Netflix now, from a posture standpoint, is of the studios, it's of the networks, it's in that mix, right? No longer are they a streaming service. They are a provider of entertainment on par with a major studio, on par with all the networks, and they've only been around X number of years to do it. So I think that what I love, at least, is that it's a shining example of innovation and, for lack of a better phrase, some really boldness and confidence that they could actually not only compete in this space, but stand up and win. So it'll be, I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, should be interesting. Okay, a couple more real quick. And this one, whoever wants to pick it up. What is the split of viewership between CTV and linear for the older demographic? It's probably different between Hispanic and English speaking.
I think I saw a LinkedIn post about this from Canela Media this week. I think we all kind of can guess the answer to that, but I'm sure some experts can come in and really speak to that further. But yeah, the older audiences are definitely still in the linear TV market, and by older, I mean I think that's defined as 55 plus, or certainly more heavier linear TV users than CTV users, probably more in the like 75-25% range, whereas in general consumption, the latest statistic that I saw was 49.7% linear TV consumption, and the rest CTV.
Wow. Marcy?
I don't have an answer to that. I know that our older demo campaigns performance has been pretty flat for the last 5 years, so I don't see a lot of migration from linear to, just by deduction. It doesn't mean that it's not happening, but we haven't seen the effect in our older targeted campaigns, and
Great.
in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're not one-off. They're just long-term sustainable campaigns, and they're pretty flat.
Yeah. The last one, and I'm going to get this one in because one of our viewers has the right idea. They want that big picture prediction for performance and D2C buyers and sellers. What are the most important outcomes they should be hoping for from this upfront season?
Single digit CPMs.
That's what I was gonna say.
We need, somehow the industry has gotten away from DR rate tiers. And, all the big networks used to carve out some space for us and let us compete against each other, and not AT&T and, and Bank of America and other, D2C brand, rebranded D2C brands. So I guess price is too tactical at a strategic level. If they can bring back some DR tiers and let us fight in our own ring, that would be awesome.
Great.
Great.
Perfect. Well, let me hop back in here, folks, and say thank you to everybody. I really appreciate you all, Chris, Cody, Marce, for being here and doing this today. We do appreciate it. Your next scheduled opportunity to attend a live online Take 20 episode is Wednesday, April 19th, when we'll take a look at the latest in one of D2C marketing's hottest spaces, tort and legal claims marketing. To Chris's point, we'll follow that up actually on May 3rd with the latest on sports marketing. So those are our next two. Please visit thepdmi.com/take-20 to register for the webinars and check out the upcoming schedule. Finally, online registration is open now for PDMI West, October 9th through 11th. We're just a little bit more than 6 months away, and we're already selling badges, and it's great to see folks already registering. We're offering an early bird special registration rate, $100 off the regular online pre-sale price of each badge through May 31st. Badge holders also get the first opportunity to book their rooms in our discounted block at the event's new host, the luxurious Intercontinental San Diego. Visit thepdmi.com/pdmi-west for more information and to grab your badge today. Thanks again for checking out this episode of the PDMI's Take 20. Be well. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.